internationalized framework in which the leadership of women, both in the bar and bench, there had always been a very pronounced push. And I have had the opportunity of working with some very great women bar leaders and on the side of the bench. In ILAC, since ILAC has a council, and we have always a nominee of International Women Judges Association, International Women Prosecutors Association, and Bar Association of India in 2000 withdrew its candidate to allow the first woman to be elected as president of International Bar Association, Diana Kemp. Then I served as vice president of Malati Das, who in 2011 became the youngest and the first woman president at the age of 41. So we lost her at a very young age of 53. But one of the most powerful champions of women in the profession, she established the Women and Children Rights Committee in Law Asia, and also created a framework where the judiciaries under Hague Convention could cooperate through Law Asia. So these were all path-breaking initiatives which I have been a part of. And in the Bar Association of India itself, we had in 2014 Rachana Shrivastava as the first Honorary General Secretary of the Bar Association of India, a very powerful executive post. And she is currently serving as Vice President of Supreme Court Bar Association as well as Bar Association of India. Then we had one gap, and after that we have Anandita, who had no hierarchical position earlier in the Bar Association of India, but had performed so well as our advocate on record in National Judicial Appointments Commission case, NJAC case, that she made a lateral entry as the Honorary General Secretary, again the youngest. And now she has been the youngest Vice President of the Bar Association of India, which was always considered as, an institution of the old guard, so as to say. So now in this new generation, we have very powerful women leaders coming up, and I have myself encouraged. There was a conference in 2015 in Sapporo, in Japan, and Rachana was to speak there. So she said, okay, I will go and speak. When she went for check-in, I told that I am coming from another country. So that was her first travel on her own, without family, outside India. Coming from very traditional families, sometimes even these small things become kind of, mental blocks that you need somebody. And once she kind of broke that mental shackle, she has come out as one of the most powerful women bar leaders of the country. And we have also created a platform in Switzerland where I am working. One of the persons involved is again one of the most powerful female lawyers in the world. That's called Amal Clooney. So with all these very powerful women leaders, I don't see why and how in India we can't achieve the same kind of success. We have to mentor, we have to encourage, we have to ensure that more bar leaders come. And I think the judiciary is intervening, but I think Bombay Bar Association made the pioneering effort. Mr. Nitin Thakkar, who is also part of our executive committee. See, first of all, in my tenure, one of the things I'm doing is we have a position of state secretaries. As one of the panelists, she just mentioned, not very many women leaders are even coming forward. So we have a position in Bar Association of India which is called the state secretary. And half of the state secretaries I'm ensuring are women. and with special focus on states which have more, you know, very strong roots of patriarchy, where, you know, female lawyers and judges and all, it's very difficult for them. So in Northeast and in other states, you know, this is kind of a lateral entry into the Bar Association leadership. But more than that, you know, sometimes it's taken as that, you know, now more than 50% judges in the, you know, junior division are females coming from the tests. But, you know, one cannot take, you know, much satisfaction out of it, because what is happening, since it is very difficult for women to find a place in a competitive profession, they are the ones aspiring more to enter the judiciary, where, you know, it can be done not through the networks, you know, you know, working under a senior or getting clients, these things. So, you know, they have a push there and they are really succeeding, but that is not enough. Because what happens once you enter at this stage, going to the senior civil judge, then to district judge and coming to high court, the journey is too long, you know, and it is almost that difficult that, you know, any proportion, even in decades or two, will rise through the promotee judges selection in the higher judiciary, in high courts, through this channel, because the entry 50% is at the lowest rung. So what Bar Association of India is planning, and again in states like Rajasthan, in states like Uttar Pradesh and Odisha, we are creating a mentoring program in an area of law, because, you know, we find that there are very few actually practicing lawyers, lady lawyers, in the field of criminal law. And if you talk about POSCO courts, you know, the whole law's implementation is lopsided, because victims don't have so many women lawyers to go to, especially in areas which are remote, and they can't even confide. So what we are planning is to create a mentoring structure where we mentor and train women lawyers for practices in this area, and also generate a kind of specialization. And once they are there, then, you know, their entry into judiciary, both at the high court level and through exams and experience to the district judiciary, where again, you know, through promotee channel they can come. But I think this is something which cannot be done by bar associations alone, because traditionally bar associations don't have this kind of structures. But we are trying to put those structures, and it is through cooperation with Center for Law and Policy Research and other NGOs that we'll be able to implement it much better. See, in Bar Association of India, we had proposed a committee, but its structure is being prepared by Anandita, and I don't want to steal her thunder. When her turn comes, she should describe the initiative. See, as far as institutional structures, beyond mentoring and other things for women to make it to the echelons of higher judiciary, this idea and what process to follow was sitting with us when we were spearheading the NJAC matter. And in that matter, you know, very few people know about it. Advocates on Record Association's main petition had a version of collegium which had a law minister as a member. Because what was the thought process was, is that Venkat Chalaiya Commission had made a recommendation when reviewing the constitution's working, and in that it was there. But later on we found that, you know, the kind of social media, the kind of, you know, information society which is there. What about a prospect where every 2 weeks to appoint judges, law minister and judges are sitting together? What inferences it may lead to? So it is very easy to talk about these structures, but we have seen how actually these commissions work. You leave the examples of UK and other places, in Philippines, even in Australia, in Malaysia, how, it led to internecine kind of competition within the judge nominees onto the commission, and how they chose to destroy each other, and then government carried the whole initiatives. These are practical things. So Bar Association's petition concentrated on the creation of a secretariat. And MOP is just one part of it. Who will operate the MOP? There has to be a specialized machinery, not an ad hoc machinery. And that machinery has to be constitutionally independent in the similar way as Constitution provides for an independent registry of the court. So the whole structure was provided, but during that process, this was something which was left to be worked out in future things. But, there was a thought process with Fali and others that, if we go back and seek it, maybe, with a different composition of a constitution bench, we may get entirely a different thing and lose the gain which is there through the NJAC judgment. But sooner or later, we have to put a structure in which how the candidates come. Because, right now, it's a male-dominated collegium. And the appointments and recommendations are through affiliations, It's a kind of a reference network where you ask, we have to change it to an open network. Those who have capabilities, they come forward. And there has to be within that structure built in a very kind of a normative system which cannot be tempered by the individual choices. Like, I always give an example, and we gave this example during the hearing also. Today, if you have to apply for a visa of United States or any other country, you will go to next page only after giving certain declarations and other things on that page. The data which is there remains confidential, but it remains. Anonymized data can appear, which will be, very helpful for the research. So a complete system can be made in which applications can be made onto the system, where all parameters can be refined. And then that will bring down this whole dependence on a culture of references, tapping on the shoulder kind of a thing, and more meritorious individuals, including women, can come forward. Right now, there is absolutely no level playing field at all. So, to change it through bar associations and all is doing a very little tinkering unless until we bring about this institutional change. So that is what we are, when we are thinking about conversations, we have always an eye on how this conversation can be converted into action, how to bring pressure on the institution to accede to it. And as I said, so far we have seen that, there had been, NJAC is hanging by a thread of 4-1 majority. And you have to be very careful what kind of majority and leadership is there at Supreme Court to see. Because I'm telling you, the way the things are, the moment appointments are being made by any, kind of combination where judges and politicians sit together, the whole faith in the judicial system will come crashing down, because the insinuations and other things which will fly around on these appointments, which will be much more toxic than they are today.
Yeah.
See, this process of recommendation from bar associations, in my view, can be very effective in case the bar associations make committees of very seasoned individuals who are not part of the electoral politics of bar association. Because, if the two things are tied, then you will have names because of the pressure of a competitive electoral politics coming in the list, because everybody has to win the next election and all. So a balanced kind of a committee with the elected members and some very important figures, so that judiciary gives due credence to it. The recommendations which are there are recommendations which are really worthy of appointment and not outcome of this competitive process. I think SCBA, something like that happened, and some of the names were very good, and some of the names were kind of
Yeah, so we have
found
to
the
move
place.
from individualistic viewpoints to more
Yes,
organized
more
and
organized,
institution-based.
institutional structures we have to
Yeah.
put in place, which are not dependent on, a kind of a populist choice. See, bar associations are voluntary organizations. And with the membership getting more dispersed, more women coming, it has to reflect in the activity and policy of the bar associations. The issue is, should we wait for that kind of thing to happen, or we should have a deliberate push to make that happen? Because if you leave things to the tide and wait for the tide to come, things may never happen. So that's why bar associations have to make conscious choice. And I'm telling you, this kind of movement is going on across the board. There are countries like Philippines where, women had always been there. And we had the first female Chief Justice in around 2012-13. And I was very fortunate to be at her inauguration. At the age of 54 years, she became the Chief Justice of Philippines. But then in 2018-19, Malaysia, which is very, very, traditional, and this organization had its first woman Chief Justice. In Sri Lanka, we had Sirani Bandaranaike as the first woman Chief Justice, and one of the most robust one, because she passed judgments against all powerful Rajpaksa regimes, corruption. She was impeached and removed. And she was even tried for that. I was her trial observer. And just see what kind of sensibility a powerful woman leader can come. So when elections took place, government changed. She was restored as Chief Justice of Sri Lanka. She just took the office and resigned the same day. Her reason was that nearly every member of the bar who matters fought for my cause. They appeared for my case. Tomorrow, if these people appear before me and I grant them relief, my sense of judgment may not be attacked by others. So my honor has been restored. Let me take my honor, but not cause complications for the institution. So she resigned the same day. So I'm saying it is not just women coming up. They can show, and they have shown such remarkable character and leadership that once they have made to the positions, I think they can create their own benchmarks. They have been creating their benchmarks, and the bar associations have to stand by, have to push, and there have to be deliberate policies to do that. Thank you. Israel, what happened that on issues including issues related to gender and behavior of judges in the court, not necessarily monetary corruption. So Israel Bar Association started evaluating the judges on all these parameters. And they started issuing a report of the judges to the Supreme Court also and the lower judiciary also. It led to a huge controversy when in 2005 I went there for their annual convention. The judiciary had boycotted the bar functions. So that was the outcome of it. And the international relations of the bar It was Shlomo Cohen who was heading the committee. And they pushed the court and the government to come to terms to this. And the first independent ombudsman of judiciary to receive these complaints was appointed in Israel around that time. And it was Shlomo's mother who was sitting judge, who was the first woman judge and first judiciary ombudsman of judiciary. So that is a model which is working very well. We are now keeping the independence of judiciary intact, insulating it from any executive or other outside pressure in a very deft system. An institution has been created which acts as a check and also to push ideas and reform. It has a very good functional secretariat, and I think, we have to find some opportunity to push these kind of ideas here, and I think there is a case pending. So maybe we can make some intervention and see how the discourse goes.